Well, is there anything you want to say to the people out there, maybe that they don't know about you? You know, something that something from your life, or something that you feel that could be important to people that you don't think you've said before.
Um, hmm. Well, first of all, I have nothing to gain really by doing this. I have a life that is just fine outside of politics. I've lost everything and built plenty, numerous times. So I don't, by any stretch of the imagination, need to be a politician. But I think, and for that matter, it's not necessarily something I want to do. It's something that I feel like I have to do because I'm tired of watching the same shit happen over and over, whether it's the guy on the red team or the guy on the blue team. I've been into politics for a long time, and politics hasn't solved any of the issues that it's tried to for as long as I've been paying attention. We still kick around the same couple of issues. We're still kicking around abortion. We're still kicking around gun control. We're still kicking around border security. These are all issues that could be sort of wrapped up very quickly, but politicians don't want to wrap these issues up, because if they do the job correctly, eventually they'll have less of a job to do and there will be less of them, and they know that. So that it's this constant perpetuity of need for government. They're always they're always dragging things out or creating problems in which they have to solve. I have no interest in sticking around in politics. My mission is really simple: to get in, to do as much good as I possibly could do, to represent people to the best of my ability, whether or not I agree with them. If there's an issue that I feel a certain way on, and my constituency strongly shows another way, I'm not going to vote the way I want to. I'm going to vote the way they want me to, because at the end of the day, I'm a representative of them. And I think most politicians wouldn't say that.
Well, an example of that, though, you're in more of a democratically held district, right? Especially now that they gerrymandered from the Ocean
Yes.
County, right?
Yeah.
So in that democratically held district, you probably would have more people that support legalized abortion. So
Potentially, yeah.
So what would you say to that, in the sense of, because
I would call a town hall meeting. One thing I think that politicians don't do, especially federal level politicians, is these guys get elected. Like, where's Andy Kim been for the past 4 years? He's been in D.C., or he's been in his home in Morristown. As a congressman, not only is it your job to legislate and vote on legislation, but you're supposed to be the liaison between the towns in your district and the federal government. So
Yes.
You should know every single mayor in your town, in your district. You should have constant lines of communication with all these people. And the reality is, if you're not in Washington, D.C. for something that's important, you should be in your district. You should be in your district every day. You should be that bridge between politics and culture and politics in the community. Because the reality is, any politician or anybody who tells you that like there's political solutions to all this shit is lying. Most of the problems that we have are not going to be solved by legislation. And if we think that that's going to solve it, we're going to wind up with a bigger, more intrusive government overall. So we need to start thinking in terms of community. You know what I mean? And that's something that I would, I would bring. So if it's an issue like that, especially a hot button charged issue, let's set a town hall.
let's say the town hall comes, you have more constituents say that they're, and the reason why I say this is because it's going to come up.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the truth. I mean, the true thing is, when you're in Washington, you say you're going to vote for the majority of your constituents, and all of a sudden, as a Republican, you're in a Democratic district. Sometimes you're going to find yourself in a position of voting against your party. Are you?
If it was to the point where it was a common sense, right? We're not talking about late term, whatever, if there's some very, very, very clear cut guidelines that aren't to be broken, and it's not one problem I have with abortion is taxpayer funding. I don't think that anybody should be paying for anybody else's birth control. But if there was some common sense to it, and it was overwhelming, which I don't think that it would be. I really don't. I don't think if I get elected, people will understand that I don't support it. So I don't think that would happen. If it would, it's a very hard choice I'd have to make, because it would be going against my conscience. And I don't know how I would. I would have to, I would take that town hall and all of the input from constituents. One thing I would want is a setup to where I can really hear from people, not just like an email that I never see, but like I don't want to get like flooded with emails just because one side were to like have a better campaign.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
how many people do you think you've spoken to in the last 2 weeks?
At least door to door, at least a couple hundred in and around neighborhoods. Had a guy just pull over on the side of 295 while I was putting a sign up. Just talked to him right before we came in here. So, and most people I talked to would not want that issue. So I don't think that it would be an issue. And if it was something.
And you're knocking on mostly Republicans' doors, right?
Only Republicans' doors right now. But the thing about my campaign is that it's, when we first opened the gym, our support was like the Trump MAGA crowd. Because they were like the first ones out in front of this coronavirus thing saying like, fuck this. And like the quote unquote anti-vax moms. I know they hate being called that. The medical freedom moms. And then what happened over the next 2 years is as it drug on and as it got worse, A, for us at Atillis, but B, for people in general, as vaccine mandates came, as people were losing their jobs, as more businesses were closing, that support, the original group intensified. So people got more pissed off, and then more people got pissed off, to the point where we didn't have a demographic anymore. It wasn't just the MAGA crowd. Like Atillis Gym is filled with people who traditionally vote Democrat. And who probably might vote Democrat again, because they're not conservatives, But like you said in the beginning of the interview, you said that I was very much progressive and liberal, but I like freedom, So
it's I went and Elon Musk's tweet about the way that it's separated and the left going so far. It's a warning though to people. As an independent thinker, I'm actually a registered unaffiliated. A lot of people don't know, as an unaffiliated voter, that the day of the primary, you can go out
and vote for
whoever you want. So, what do you have to say to the unaffiliated voters out there who you don't knock on their door, who you don't understand who they are exactly, but there are actually more of them than there are Republicans or Democrats. What's your message to them for primary day? Would you want them to come out and vote for you?
I would, absolutely. I wouldn't say just come out and vote for me, but I would say pay attention to the primary. Pay attention to your choices in the primary, And if I look like a candidate that you would want to see on the ticket, make sure I get on the ticket. And that goes for anybody.
And where are you on the ticket? Like, have you seen
first line?
You're on the first line.
First line.
So how did you get the first line over Bob Healy?
Because we ran our own slate of candidates with our own commissioner. Regardless of the county line, the county line is typically the first line because usually you don't run your own slate. It'll be county line, and then there's just like a bunch of other top picks. But we ran our own commissioner, so that puts us in the drawing for the first line. They have to kind of like pick names out of a hat.
Did something similar happen in Camden County this year too?
Maybe, I don't know.
I think the progressives, at least they got the second line. Before they were all the way.
Yeah, they'll stick you out in no man's land.
Ballot Siberia, they call it.
It's true. So that was a big upset.
So they looked for you in line one.
Line one, yep.
And